The U.S. Indian Wars are seldom covered when we talk about our history, being dominated by stereotypes and misconceptions. Among 3 centuries of conflicts, alliances, and hostility, this is one story among many.
Most attitudes towards Native Americans were divided between 2 myths: the noble savage and the savage savage. The noble savage is the one that fought for its people, died, made a great speech before dying, and if they happened to survive a war, they became an integral part of U.S. society and people respected them. The savage savage, on the other hand, also still had that aura of fighting for the desire to be and the right to be, until there was a competition of resources: land, water, timber. That is when the attitude changes. If you think about U.S. encroachment, it had come in waves. So you have up until 1763, the Proclamation Line along the Appalachians. That actually is set up to protect settlers from Native Americans west of the Appalachian Line. Once that moves in towards Indian territory, now you really have a problem.
In 1863, the U.S. founded the Bozeman Trail to assist in the travel west. This trail crossed through the heart of Sioux hunting grounds, leading to skirmishes with the tribes of the area. 3 years later, Chief Red Cloud of the Oglala Sioux united the Great Plains against the United States. This conflict is known as Red Cloud's War.
The rising up of Red Cloud, and it's not just Red Cloud, they've got allies. So you've got Cheyenne and Arapaho who are going to just rise to the occasion, people that they consider their brothers or their cousins. They're coming to the rescue. It leads to one of the biggest defeats of the United States, and it's probably why you don't find it so readily taught in schools. We lost, and we lost badly.
Both sides signed the Treaty of Fort Laramie in 1868, leading to the closure of the Bozeman Trail and the formation of the Great Sioux Reservation, designating that land as unceded Indian territory. Included in the treaty was the Black Hills, a sacred area for the Sioux.
It's the first treaty negotiated along the lines of Sioux aims and values.
Due to underregulation of the area, U.S. settlers and miners continued to infringe on Sioux lands. After gold was found in the Black Hills, the U.S. declared war on the Great Sioux Reservation on February 8, 1876.
Small skirmishes that actually caused the United States to drive further into an area that they had never gone into before. It really allows for transformation of warfare to the point where you now are no longer engaged in lined up large battles. You're engaged in what we could refer to today as guerrilla warfare. This is going to set in the minds of the United States that Indian wars can be fought on the plains effectively.
The Sioux leaders signed the Agreement of 1877, losing the Black Hills and having their lands segmented into small reservations.
You can see this as an actual deconstruction over 20 years of Sioux life. Your children at the age of 3 are usually taken away. You also are subjugated to conversion. This becomes the model for how all Native Americans would be dealt with in the country.
After years of subjugation by the United States, Wovoka, a Paiute cleric, shared his vision of the land rolling up like a carpet, ridding the land of the white settlers and returning the lands to the Native Americans and the buffalo as it was before. This became known around the plains as the ghost dance religion.
Because they were starving, the rations were not enough, the water was contaminated. They would see God in the singing of these ghost dance songs. They basically go into a frenzy because of this promise. For the Sioux, all that is desired is for the resources of old. For the U.S. side, all that is desired is to have this be done with. Everyone is afraid of one another.
On December 15, 1890, Sitting Bull's home on the Standing Rock Reservation was raided by tribal police. After resisting arrest, Sitting Bull was stabbed and killed. In response, Chief Spotted Elk led a group of 300 Hunkpapa and Miniconjou Lakota on a trek to the Pine Ridge Reservation 300 miles south. The group was stopped by U.S. soldiers and forced to camp at Wounded Knee Creek.
What happened that evening, you could see it as an approaching climax to a prayer session that was occurring with the Sioux. On the U.S. military side, there is a serious concern that this could lead to an uprising. The U.S. didn't really have the manpower to address the uprising in totality. That following day, that prayer cry triggers someone who's nervous to fire. And after that, everyone rushes, and the U.S. opens fire.
It's estimated of the 300 Hunkpapa and Miniconjou tribesmen, 2/3 of the losses were women and children. The Wounded Knee Massacre remains as a bloody stain in U.S. history.
I think the open firing by our soldiers onto this group of people should cause us to raise two questions. Is there humanity in war? I think if you were of the time a U.S. soldier, that was not something you could reconcile your conscience with. And I think as Americans, when we know that this is now part of our history, we have to look at both sides. What would we have done?
Today, Americans and Sioux live side by side. Although the relationship between both sides is different, neither side will forget the bloodshed and broken promises of Wounded Knee.